Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Sunday. My name's Tommy McIntyre. This is Ibrox. 4 minutes past when we're supposed to go scheduled, but better late than never, which might be a theme of this podcast, I have to say. And joined with me tonight for getting through the events of today and just Rangers catharsis in general is Iain and Craig. Iain, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yes, it's a weird day today. It's a weird game to analyse because it's one of those ones where pre-game I didn't care how it went, and then when we equalised right at the end, I celebrated pretty hard for some weird reason. So it was an odd one, but we'll obviously get through all that. But no, I'm good. I'm good, mate. Thanks.
I'm glad to hear it. Craig, similar circumstances for you?
Yeah, all good. I was ready for... And that's it. I was ready for just enjoying the Masters weekend and not worrying too much about what our result ended up. We just want to get through it, and then it turns into a bit of chaos. So, but all good.
Yeah, I do like a bit of golf. I'm going to stay away from the Masters a wee bit because it does end up in a green jacket, and I do not like some of that. So I'm going to move swiftly on, and we're going to talk about today's events at Pittodrie. Now, I think broadly we have, and the Rangers support have done to death the nature of we have no idea what's coming out the tunnel on any given match day, right? I think that's pretty well established with this group of players. But what I want to maybe get into, certainly in that first half, is just how bad, and maybe Iain, I'll turn to you first, just how bad is our start to games, the players' overall mentality and attitude to playing for Rangers? Because there was a lot of players in there who were given a chance of a jersey.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like I said, I saw the lineup and I was quite happy with it, to be honest, because I know the big game for me this week is Thursday. We're all going to be the exact same there. So, like I say, you're not too bothered how it goes, but once the game starts, obviously that changes massively. But it was a bit of a chance. As much as it was a chance for us to see certain players as it was for those players to impress, mainly thinking of Curtis and Ciala, obviously two young guys, a little bit unknown on both sides of whether they could go on to be proper Rangers players. But then on the other side, a guy like Cortez, who we've just not seen at all. So I was actually pretty excited to think, right, what have you got? What can you do? Are you going to last a full game, kind of first and foremost?
I think Oscar Cortez's official name is Oscar Obligation to Buy Cortez. I think that's exactly how you have to say it. That's what I'm hearing.
Of course. No, that's exactly it, because that's the thing. It's not like an option here. He is going to be a Rangers player going forward. And it's a big outlay for us, so you kind of need some sort of hope to buy into with him. Obviously, we'll come on to it a bit more whether he gave us any hope or not. But even for guys like Danilo, who's just not had a proper start to his Rangers career yet, he just can't stay fit. So these guys who you would hope would start a game, be itching to get going, itching to put on a good performance. But as you alluded to, as always, it's the same old thing. Doesn't matter what players are in the lineup, it's going to be the same slow, lethargic play, the same defensive mishaps. And yeah, we give ourselves a mountain to climb time and time again, and done that yet again today.
Yeah, Craig, I'm going to turn to you. And I do want to get into the squad depth, into the young players getting a chance, etc. But maybe first of all, I'm looking for you to talk me through the two Aberdeen goals.
I mean, I think the worrying thing was they were coming. You could see from the start of the game, we were second to every ball, which, you know what, I'm going to give some of the players a bit of a pass because it is hard when you make that amount of changes. People have not people are not up to match speed. There's no chemistry on the pitch. It is hard to make that amount of change. It very rarely works. I would be worried about us going up to Pittodrie with full strength. Never mind, with a team like that. So it was very risky. And listen, it worked out well in the end. It's exactly what you probably, we wanted to happen in the results case. But in terms of the goals, the first one, I think it's a really good hit for a free kick. I think Kelly, you could argue he could do better there. I think it's by no means a poor mistake or anything like that. So I think I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt on that one. It's a pretty well struck free kick, and he's not played a lot of football. Done very well for us during the week. The second one, again, I think it was just cut open and we just looked all over the place, to be honest with you, defensively. And just another one at a very difficult time to lose a goal as well. And I just feared the worst. Once it went 2-0, I thought after half time this could be really bad. So 2 pretty poor goals again, as Ian touched on. It doesn't matter the squad you put out, we're still starting so slow in games, and you're giving teams a 2-goal head start, which is so frustrating. But weirdly, it's not the worst goals I've ever seen us lose.
Well, that's a damning indictment.
Which says a lot about some of the goals you conceded.
I like the fact you've come on really positive tonight, Craig. That's something, right? You're very much on the sunny side of the last minute equaliser street. So I'll turn to Ian then. Not saying that you're on the darker side of the street, Ian. Obviously, you're an optimistic guy as well. If anything, I'm the naysayer here. But let's get into it then. I think you're right, and I agree with Craig. We got to half time. I was watching it and I thought, it's 2 man down. This could turn into something that is really, really, really bad. We did show a bit more fight. We'll get into that, right? But maybe, and I'm not saying that he's the overall, catalyst for the result or anything like that. Certainly that first part. But we spoke about young players. Talking about Ross McCausland, and he said a terrible game today. But I also want to think about his long-term perspectives as you see it in a Rangers jersey, in a Rangers first team squad.
It's a funny one because I think if he didn't come through the academy, he'd be nowhere near Rangers, which is a little bit harsh, maybe a bit going on what happened today kind of thing. And to be fair, he's playing out of position. He's sort of right wing back when he's always been a right midfielder, so a little bit different for him, but he's just not showed enough for me over his Rangers career, albeit it's still quite short and it's still early days. I know he's not exactly hitting his prime or anything like that either, but I feel like a guy at that age who's had as much opportunities as he has had should have some better numbers. He should have a few moments of class, of I'm worthy of being a Rangers player. Whereas for me, he's just filling a quota at this point, which you do need guys to do that. You need depth. You need guys who can come on and play a couple of positions, this sort of stuff. But if he moved on in the summer, I wouldn't bat 2 eyelids about it kind of thing. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's more, like I was saying, kind of it's a statement of the state of our Rangers just now that he is getting a game. And I know we're playing a B team today. It's a bit daft saying that, but the fact we have had to rely on him at some moments, and if Černý got injured, for example, who else would step into that role kind of thing? So it plays a lot of importance on the first team of staying fit. And for McCausland, I don't think he's up to our standard. He's probably the kind of guy that if he moved on, I don't see where he would go to be anywhere near a club of our size. And there's just a lot of guys in the squad that are like that. And in today's, the 2 yellows are ridiculous. Like, the first one can happen. It's the kind of attacker's challenge, as people always say. I get that. But that second one, just the naivety and the thinking that tackle was there to go for kind of thing. I just think it's mad, especially given the circumstances, given how big Thursday is and how you're trying to keep the team fresh. Going down to 10 men after, 40 minutes or so. Just the absolute worst case scenario for us.
Yeah, I agree with Ernie. I think he's 21, in there somewhere in terms of age. So he does have a lot of time and effort. But I'm with you. I think broadly, I don't feel he's the right level of quality. Craig, I'm going to turn to you, and I'll be interested in that. But before that, Ian, did you say I wouldn't bat 2 eyelids?
I think I did. I said it in the second.
I have never heard that ever in my life.
There's a saying in there something.
I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I wouldn't bat 2 eyelids. I mean, are you doing them independently? Because that's not how it's supposed to work.
I thought about with it as well.
Totally different podcast. It was a good comment, but I've never heard batting 2 eyelids. Right? That's somebody's going to have to come at me in the comments about that and clarify whether that's a genuine comment or Ian's just made it up on the spot.
I think it's
mostly season with Rangers, it's not been batting the eyelids; it's been covering them up with your hands over your face because of what has been served up to us. But Craig, back to your good self. I want to run through the team to some extent, right? But I'm looking at them, to your point earlier on, lots of changes, youth into the squad today, bit of a B team feel to it, yada, yada, yada. I know it's been done a wee bit in the previous podcast, right? But I really do want to focus in on what's supposed to be your pivot round about that central defence, Robin proper, right? Now, I think I might know what your answer is going to be here to some extent, but just how far off the pace is Robin Proper, and how surprising is it that we identified a player like that and unfortunately have to keep playing him even domestically?
Yeah, I think he's been miles off it this season. He struggled with the physicality. He struggled going away from home. He struggled against any real, big physical striker or any kind of challenger. He's been miles off it. And then during the week, we've been talking about how good, he's been pretty good in Europe for the most part. And then 10 minutes in, he gets himself sent off as well. So for me, the centre back options today were horrendous, to be honest. He's had Phil Fernandez in, who I genuinely completely forgot about. I didn't know he was still in the building. Cialo, who I think done okay. But Robin Proper, I think it's clearly shown he's not the right. He cannot be a centre back we can rely on. And the difficulty is we've now got Sterling out for a long time, Shooter, who picks up quite a lot of injuries, and Balogun, who's at a good age. So we've not really much we can rely on in that area at all. You've really got to question how we've assembled that defensive line.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. So I'm going to chop up tonight's pod with a wee bit of. I'm stealing a wee bit from Craig previously with these kind of quick fire rounds. So I'm looking at both these on the screen here. Who gets to go first? Craig, you're still on it, right? So I'm going to give you 3 names and just tell me if they're here next season or not. That's it.
Yep.
Just yes or no. Iain, you get a wee bit of time to think about your answer, so I might try and do something different. Right, Craig, Liam Kelly.
Stays here. Yeah.
Right. Dispensing with my one-word answers there right off the bat, Craig, so I appreciate that, right? Just sticking that right in the bin. Right. Nobody listens to me. This is quite clear for the listeners as well, right? So, NCR.
He stays. You give him another go.
Proper.
Goes. Get him on the plane just now.
I've got a feeling that Craig's got the engine running and the car doors open to an extent there. And okay, I'll switch over, right? And I'm going to go slightly different with you here. Actually, no, I'm going to stick with it. Proper.
Has to go.
NCR.
I would definitely keep Cialo. I think there's something there. And we know he's kind of had those little moments of, let's say, indecisive defending, but there's something about him I really like. I think he can develop a lot more. I'd keep him for sure.
Kelly.
I would keep, but he's my backup goalie. I think we need a new number one that's not Butland. I'd be moving Butland on to kind of keep Kelly in that role that he's had this season.
Okay, so you've saved me having to ask that, so I just get to ask Craig. So are you out of the Butland out camp, Craig?
See, I've kind of jumped back and forward on this, but I think I'm now at the stage where, I would probably look to move him on and get another keeper in. I think, I could deal with a few mistakes, but I think it's just been too long. We can't take the chance that our first choice keeper on a big wage comes into next season and keeps the same form going. I think we've got to look for another keeper. I would love him to turn it around and come back, but I think it's too many mistakes. And touching on Iain's point, I think Kelly is a very good backup. I don't think he'll ever be the number one, but he's a very reliable backup. Great attitude, steps in when you need him, doesn't let you down. He stays as my number 2, and we bring in a new number 1.
See, for Butland now, for me, though, I think it's like the worry. It's that he's now at that stage where he makes another mistake and it'll be, oh, there's another one. Like he could go 6, 7, 8 games with no issues, pretty good performances, and then a mistake, and it's, oh, then he's doing a mistake. And once you get in that mindset with any player, let alone a goalie, I think it's curtains for him.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and maybe a really good point to bring up as well, in terms of, Andy Goram's birthday. Obviously today the club had tweeted that out. A proper goalkeeper. Do either of you think that we will see somebody of that quality in between the sticks at Ibrox again?
No, it's going to be very hard, isn't it? You would have said that years ago before McGregor came in, and how good he was. But I think those are very big gloves to fill. Those two, very hard to find keepers of those ilk.
Definitely. And I should say, if there's anybody listening who's younger, who's maybe not seen the videos or anything like that, just go and find the save from Vital Dunk. Never been a better save. That's it. Full stop. And the pared down commentary that goes with it just actually kind of makes it a wee bit as well. I do want to come back round then. So we've looked at some of the back line there. Going to the midfield, there was lots made of Connor Barron. There was, Barry Ferguson spoke about it after the match in terms of he's got things to add to his game. He was made the captain today before James Tavernier come on. I want to run over that midfield as we look at it, from a starting perspective. You had Barron in there, Curtis, who I thought performed, reasonably well. McCausland was spoken about, and we started with Bajrami. Bajrami interests me because I think he is absolutely stealing a jersey from us. But I am very much interested in terms of, we come out in the second half. We'll get to all that. But we come out in the second half, and Hamza Igamani manages to find something, steps over. He's great in those tight spaces. He foxes defence. He rolls it into the bottom corner. Rolls it's probably doing him a disservice. There was power into it there, right? But I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Danilo. I'm looking at Dessers. Now we're going to play a similar game here. Is it now the stage that out with of Europe? So Thursday's it. We've got nothing else to play for, right? And Iain, I'll come to you first. Should Hamza Igamani just get starting through the middle striker's jersey from now until the end of the season? As we say, Danilo and Dessers has to go. And do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I've been more on the kind of fence with the Danilo side of it, because I think there was something there. I do like how he plays, but he's unreliable. So I'd be moving him on for any sort of fee we can get. Dessers, similarly, I've had enough of Dessers, and I've said that on this podcast at least 15 times at this point. So I'm not for swaying on that one.
I always like coming back to you. It's why I pick on you to answer it first. It's purely for my amusement.
Appreciate that. No, I just that chance at the end is the exact reason why. Like, in the moment that you need Dessers, he lets you down. And I know we score from it, obviously, so it's redundant. But if we don't score that goal, Dessers lost his points again. And how many times have you said that this season? So he has to move on. Igamani for me is the one thing in this team that I properly like. Yes, he's not perfect. He's still quite raw, but he's got that ability to score that goal that he gets today. Obviously scored just before half-time as well, and it gets ruled out, but he can have a quiet game and still have a good moment like that, which I think is important. It doesn't have to be sort of banging them in and in form to be giving you a moment like that. So the talent he's got, I think we've got to try and play on that, play him where he should be playing and not on the wing. And that could be a big sale in future for us if he keeps developing. And that was the one disappointing for me in the lineup today, that he was starting, because for that, in my head, it means Dessers is starting on Thursday night, which I do get. He's been quite good in Europe, obviously, so I understand it. But Igamani should be our number 9 going forward, regardless. I'd be quite content with him being our striker next season.
Craig, I'm interested your view of that as well. Maybe just broken down. Would you get rid of Danilo? Would you get rid of Dessers? And is Igamani just your starting number 9 now to the end of the season? Get him more in here.
Yeah, I think Danilo, I liked him at first. I really thought he had something about him. I would like to see more of him getting a run in the team, but he's just had too many injuries, unreliable, and then he needs to go in and, I know it's difficult, all the changes, but he needs to go and grab the jersey and show us something today. And he didn't. He looks miles off it. For the money we paid, I think it's you've got to try and move him on. No, he's not reliable enough. Dessers, again, we've went back and forward about his goal return. Again, I don't think he's the answer on the amount you're paying him. It's time to move him on in the summer. If we series have been successful in rebuilding a squad, you need better. He won't do it for you as your number 9. Igamani has got something about him. We can all see that. He needs a run at number 9. It's definitely killing him a little bit when we're playing him out wide, when we're playing him in behind. Play him as a number 9 now to the end of the season. I do understand to an extent why you'd be tempted to go with Dessers on Thursday. Well, no, I would. Well, I know we'll get on to that kind of side of things, but after that, apart from the European stuff, play him every domestic game, get him a run of games, see what he can do.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair synopsis. And like you said, we'll get to the look ahead later. It's interesting, and I know we've done the Dessers conversation. I don't want to duplicate overly. I'm just interested, maybe just with that view of Eagleman, that there's a lot of raw potential, but there's also a lot of pressure getting heaped on the boy. And is it the right time? Or maybe I'm taking it both from you two. Tell me if I'm wrong here. But do you see him as the starting number 9 through the middle next season? Or, well, I'm interested in this. Would you expect an established number 9 to come in and he's still playing the developing candidate? Or do you see a restructure of the style of playing going to up top? Because as I look across the forward line, you've got Cortez being brought in, obligation unless we get out of it. We definitely need some other wide players. McCausland's maybe not the answer. Cherny will back to his team, etc., etc. Do you think that needs completely refashioned, or do you see us shaping up just with one up top, and that's Eagleman? In which case, you're going to have to bring in understudies to him. Iain.
Yeah, that is tricky. I think you need to look at the squad as a whole for me. But if you're dotting players in for next season kind of thing, there's very little in my eyes that you're saying, okay, he's definitely here and he's going to be a starter. Beyond Suter, Raskin, Diomande, I would put Eagleman in that category as well. I think you then have to think okay, budget-wise, I know we're going to have investment coming in, but you don't know what kind of numbers are going to be coming in there at all. So you need to think there's going to be guys going out the way that have to generate some funds. And that most recent comment there, saying who'd want to buy Danilo, is pretty accurate, because quite frankly, no one's going to pay anywhere near what we paid for Danilo. Whereas a Dessers, for example, yes, he's got his flaws, obviously, but he would still get us a decent fee, you'd think. And that's why there's a few sort of question marks over where you then reinvest that money. For me, like you say, it's got to be wingers for me. I think if you put pace around Eagleman and give him help, just in that sense, it could bring his game on even further. And then it's a funny one, because it all depends on what manager comes in, what formation they play, what their style is, because you could have a new number 10 come in, you could have a guy who doesn't play with number 10s, all these kind of things are going to come around there as well. But my thinking on it would be Eagleman's your main striker. It's hard, like you say, because you're bringing in someone who's either going to be equally raw and working their way up, or someone who's maybe on the other side of that. So a Jermaine Defoe type who's been there, done it, knows where the goal is, and can chip in and take some of that pressure off Eagleman. That'd be my thinking, because we know we're not going to get a guy in the middle of that sort of thing. We've not got the transfer power to bring in a guy in his prime, mid-20s, who's going to bang 20, 30 goals in. It's going to be someone on one scale or the other kind of thing. So I'd be looking at Eagleman as my main man, a 30-plus striker maybe from down south, and then maybe a loan on top of that, like a Sima-type loan. By all means, bring Sima back if we can. But that kind of idea as your maybe 3 main strikers, and just try and go with that going forward. I don't see Danilo moving on, to be honest, like we're saying there. So he probably will stick around and also be an option when fit. But yeah, Eagleman in this case has got to be the main man for me going forward.
No, I get that. I'm not entirely sure about the Sima thing coming back, although I would take him in a heartbeat as well. Craig, you're up next. Tommy's big wheel of stick or twist. And we've touched on them here. Just, are we selling or are we keeping? We'll go with Danilo.
We are selling. I probably see him going as a loan, one option to buy one of those ones, and I think that's probably the most likely. But I'd be trying everything I can to get him off the wage bill and get something recouped for him.
Dessers.
Selling him. He's stocked high just now. He's a good return. Played well in Europe. You need to cash in a little bit.
And I think I know the answer to this one for both of you guys, to be honest with you. But Eagleman.
Eagleman, you obviously stick with, unless a ridiculous offer comes in. Everybody's for sale. But I'm with you on that. I wouldn't have any grumbles about him being a starting number 9 next year.
I'll swiftly jump to yourself, Iain, and I'll go back the way. I think I know the answer to Eagleman. I'm going to give you a pass on that one, but I'll go Dessers.
I just think he has to go. It's one of these ones where he's got good stats. He would make a great YouTube compilation. If a scouting team's looking at him, they think this guy certainly knows where the goal is. And I think, as I touched on before, I think you get a good fee for him. I know he's 30 now, but it's not as if pace is a big side of his game or that kind of thing. It's going to be a guy who can stick in the box, put the ball away. That's what teams have got to be looking for. say you get 3-4 million kind of thing back, maybe a little bit lower than that, but for the fact you would get that plus the big wage off the books for a guy that we all know just isn't going to deliver his trophies in those important moments. Like, again, I come on these podcasts and end up talking about Dessers every time, obviously, and I make it sound like it's all Dessers' fault, which I know it's not. I know there's a lot more problems at the club, but when you think about a guy who could get us a good fee, who we know isn't good enough for us, or not going to do the job for us, I just think he's got to be the kind of the freshness has got to come from guys like that moving on. There's obviously a lot more that should be moving on as well, but these guys out to bring in a new sort of hopefully period of success and that kind of thing. Got to get some new blood in this team.
Yeah, I'll ask you Danilo then.
Because I don't think we'd get any sort of fee for him, I'd probably keep him around. Again, like Craig says, our best bet is probably a loan with an option to buy, but again, it's just one of those ones where there's much more players in this squad I'd move on before Danilo, even though that is a bit daft because I know it's a guy we can't rely on. But for me, there's a good footballer there. You just need to manage him, I guess is a better way of saying it. But I was hoping when Bari came in that these few months would have seen Danilo starting a lot more games and playing a lot more. He's not really been injured much that I can remember since the second bad knee injury he got. So there's got to be a reason that Ferguson doesn't trust him. I don't know if that's his training application. I don't know if it's just preferring Dessers up front. There's got to be something there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the new manager does, whoever that is going to be in terms of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it may just be that he's not up to it anymore. In all honesty, there's been a few bad injuries in there, and it wouldn't be Rangers if we didn't have somebody who's probably a really good player but can't actually get on the pitch because they're a bit of a crock. And in there, I do want to turn then, and Craig, I'm going to go to your good self first. Somebody who is playing like they really want to be here, and they've said that, they've shouted out fake news of stories that was in the press recently of wanting to leave. And again, they were at it midweek, really aggressive front foot, showed it again off the bench today, and then pops up with an absolute screamer. And do feel free to tell us your reaction when Dessers hit the post and then Hagi steps forward. But yeah, Hagi seems to be really trying to prove something at the moment, whether that's the fans or the club or both, that his heart is in it.
Yeah. I like Hagi. I've always kind of liked him. I feel he's very unlucky, but before he got the knee injury, I thought we were really seeing the best of him. You know, in terms of just under Gio, I thought that's a player. He'd added a little bit of grit to his game. He was producing more. I felt he was very unlucky, and it's taken him years. You know, it's taken him a good couple of years to get back to somewhat his best. I would love to see him stay. I don't think it will happen. Just knowing that he's probably one of the high earners. You know, I don't know if I wouldn't break the bank to keep him, but I would like to see him stay. I think we're getting rid of a lot in that squad. I think we need guys like him around who seem to have the right mentality. And there, it's few and far between in that squad, to be honest with you. So I would quite like to. I'd quite like to do what we can within reason to keep Hagi around next year.
And Iain, are you in a similar place? I pull up Hugo Bell's comment they are talking about, and Craig's just touched on it exactly the same about, you know, salary dependent. Is there an element as well of, if you step back, recent performances aside, right, but also being aware of where we are and the overall performances, is Hagi somebody that you have as a starter all the time, or are we just getting clouded by the fact that there's a drop off in quality right across this squad?
Yeah, it's a really hard one, especially this like recency bias, because he was obviously, as you saw, a great goal today. He was great in midweek for me. I did put a tweet about that, and I saw a lot of people with like contrasting emotions saying he didn't do anything with the ball. But Thursday night wasn't about what you do with the ball. It was that side of his game that Craig touched on, the digging in, the tackling, the winning your battles kind of thing. I thought he'd done that really well, which is something he just didn't do at the start of his career when he was a bit younger. But I wouldn't be too bothered if he moved on, which is a strange sort of combo. Sorry, excuse me. I think at this point it's that Hagi doesn't suit us too much domestically for me, and this is the big thing with all of the squad. To be honest, I want powerful, fast players who can play football. Whereas, yes, you can't have every player like that, and that's totally fair. But if, like you say, if Hagi's your starter and he's obviously going to be an attacker, that's straight away a very slow attacking front line. If we're talking about Agaman staying, he's not exactly rapid either. you would need to put a lot of pace around that to do what I think we need to do domestically and like overrun teams while having better footballers, because it's what we've not been doing for years. It's why we're pretty good in Europe, because we can sit in and soak it up. We don't need to be fast, whereas in the league it's just too many of these kind of players. And like you're saying, for Hagi, for the quality he's got and the ability that we know he has, he doesn't do it anywhere near consistently enough. He doesn't get the goals that he should. He doesn't get the amount of assists that he probably should. There's still negatives to that game. I think if you asked this question 2 weeks ago, 90% of people would have said, yeah, move him on. He's probably wanting a bit too much of a salary for what role he would be playing. And I don't think you should change that after a couple of good games, because this could just be him in the shop window. It's the kind of the John Lundstrom effect, where when his contract's running down, he's a world beater. He's incredible. He's running through walls. He's tackling. He's doing everything. As soon as he signed that contract and everything's secure, you do see a drop-off. I'm not saying that's what Hagi's going to do, because I think he's got a better mentality than that, but it's absolutely possible. If you give him the contract he wants and he's suddenly not got that bit between his teeth, that's something to play for, you see a drop-off, and that's the risk I think we'll be going for if we do make him one of the higher earners.
Yeah, I mean, I see where it's coming from in terms of you're not going to start him every week. The one thing I really like about Hagi is the bit of touch on mentality. Ibrox is a hard place to play your football, and see when things aren't coming off for us, Hagi is the type of guy that he doesn't care if he's tried 9 passes have not come off. He'll still try and break that defence, or he'll try and pull something off. Too many other players go into a shell and they'll just pass it backwards and they'll just be safe. What I like about Hagi is he's just got that where, say we are struggling to break a team down, Hagi will get the ball, he'll take it on himself, he'll take responsibility, he'll have a shot, he'll try and break through a team. That's the one thing that stands out. And I think over a season, you need that. Over a season, I think he'll get you decent numbers if he's playing, fairly regularly. So I just feel we're missing that in the squad. I feel he has a real place to in that squad. As I said, not every week starting, but a big part to play across the season.
Okay, well, I'm going to rummage in my big bag of contracts, right? And we're back to it. So, Craig, with you, Ianis Hagi, we keeping? We selling?
I would be trying to keep him.
Okay, and Bajrami.
Get rid of him. He's not good enough. It's not worked out.
Okay, and Iain, because I want to focus on Bajrami, and I want a longer answer from you on the empty jersey that is Bajrami, right? But not I'm leading the witness in any way, shape, or form. And please, in the comments, give us your feelings about these players as well. I'm interested to understand where you all are, so please knock those comments in, and I'll do my best to get them on screen. But Iain, I'll go with Hagi first. Where are you?
I would not be against him staying at all. Big fan of Hagi, like I was saying there. I just don't think he suits what I want a Rangers team to be. It's a bit of a kind of backwards answer there, but
yeah, I'm going to call you on that one.
No, I'm calling it myself. Don't worry.
Don't you fall off that fence that you're sitting on there?
No, right? I know. I think if it's kind of similar to Dessers and this whole wage debate. Like if you're suddenly making him one of the highest paid players and it goes across the whole team, if you're commanding such a salary, like your high 20,000, whatever that's going to be, you need to be playing every week, performing every week, and doing what is expected of you every week. And I just don't think we can ever get that from Hagi. Like long term, I don't see him wanting a 1 or 2 year contract. It's going to be a long contract. Obviously, he's in his peak years, so it's going to be the highest fee he's going to have had so far. Obviously, when all these things come in it, I just don't think it's worth it. I think that money can be spent better on someone brand new, fresh start across the board. I would probably lean towards get rid of, but it's a bit different with Hagi because you're obviously getting no fee there. There's no selling value at all. It's just a case of letting him go, which does seem a shame given how much he has put into this club.
Yeah, well, again, a bit of a Rangers staple in the modern era of letting assets leave for absolutely nothing or a pittance. So it's nice to be consistent, I suppose. And that's the end of that particular point. But okay, I want to go into Bajrami and maybe a shorter answer than I first envisioned. I struggle with Bajrami personally because there's evidently a bit of talent in there, but the guy is in absolutely the wrong club, playing in the wrong position and not giving anything anywhere near enough. Tell me I'm wrong.
I wish I could. I was on that train with Bajrami at the start where I was saying he's playing out of position, he needs time at number 10, see what he can do, and hopefully he can try and dictate games from there, but he's just not done it. I don't know if it is a mentality thing, an attitude thing. It's quite hard to put your finger on, really, because like you say, he does have ability. He shows little moments of quality. And when he was coming in, I was pretty excited, sort of seeing his profile and thought he could be the guy that unlocks defences, it gets loads of goals, loads of assists, knits it all together kind of thing. But it's just never really clicked for whatever reason. Again, I'm starting to repeat myself, obviously, but you look at guys in the squad who we don't really fancy, we don't want to stay long term, but who could make us not decent money, but some kind of return. I think Badrami's still got a decent stock, probably from his years in Italy. He's still an international. You'd expect a few million back from that. And if sort of links back to the Hagi one, if you are keeping Hagi, you've got that player from that area, not leaving his light anywhere. We've obviously kind of stacked with number 10s over the years. So I just, for what we see of Badrami week in, week out, he doesn't get much game time as it is. You wonder, is it his training application? Is it just a case of he doesn't fancy this league? It could be a number of things, but I'd be quite happy to move him on, rake in the money there, and try again with someone else.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick with you again. I just want a quick answer on this one because I want to move us on. But does today just absolutely finally put a full stop, an underline, a bracket round about any chat of Barry Ferguson potentially getting the job?
He lost me last weekend, to be honest, with that Hibs game. And I'm not saying it was his fault exactly, because like the team he picked looked pretty good on paper and stuff like that. It was nothing like that. It's more just, I don't know. It's a hard one because obviously we all love Barry Ferguson. We all really want him to do so well. I think it comes down to Europe, really, in a sense, because if you somehow get past Bilbao, which he's got a very strong chance with after the first leg, if you get through that, and you get through the semi-final kind of thing, I think he's probably earned a shot at it. But the same problems still remain, and that could be the players that he's got at his disposal, could be a number of different factors, but it just kind of lost me after that Hibs result. Like I say, I was more in favour of him staying before that game, and just seeing that one again, the subs he was making, the kind of rash decisions from the side, it just put me in the other side that I would be probably leaning against. He's not the man to take us forward, but like I've just touched on it, it depends on Europe for me at this point.
Yeah, Craig, I reckon you might say maybe something similar, but I don't know if it was in your mouth. But again, maybe a sharp answer here. And I'm not walking past the fact that Pittodrie, I think you said this at the very start, Pittodrie's a difficult place to go, even with a full-strength side that are playing well. We played a large part of that game with 10 men. We went 2-0 down. He's got them into the dressing room. And as he's done a few times, he's managed to get some sort of impetus out of them in a second half and get them over the line. That can't be overlooked. But out with of winning the European trophy, I'm definitely not of this camp. But do you see any ability there, or is it just a case of thanks for playing? That was great. Thanks for doing us a job when we needed you, Barry.
I think I've been I've stuck this opinion from the start that I felt as if it was a short-term one. Wanted Barry to do very, very well. He's done brilliant for me from what he's been working with. He's, you can see how hard he's worked. You can see how in game he's made changes that have, definitely helped us. It has been a bit chaotic at times, but it's not just down to him. He's done the absolute best he could have done with that squad. Now, for me, we needed a fresh start in the summer. We needed a new manager. For me, Barry Ferguson's not the one to take on that job full time. Outside a miracle where you really had to give him the job if he won the Europa League, he goes with the best wishes. He goes, doing very, very well. But yeah, I don't think he's the right man to take us forward, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and nice segue as well, Craig. Really appreciate you kind of having a peek at the agenda and moving us towards that as we stretch towards the 40-minute mark. We're going to wrap up the pod pretty soon anyway. So let's talk about Thursday very briefly, right? And I think we've touched on various different players, etc. Maybe what I'm wanting to look at is, Aberdeen gets packed away. Yes, it's always nice to get a last-minute equaliser and shut up the home fans, but a draw, even with a B team against Aberdeen, is not something naturally to be celebrated, right? It's just an indicator of where we are right now, right? That's it. I'll come to you in a minute, Iain, but I'm going to go to Craig first. I don't know if Ian's maybe frozen a little bit there, by the way, but that he's holding a pose particularly well. But Craig, to you, what we're going to see on Thursday, who do you start up top? And definitely finish by giving me your prediction.
It's going to be very difficult. There's no doubt about that. But I'm optimistic. I think we obviously done very well. I think I came away from the first leg feeling pretty good about things, feeling, you know, we're in a shootout with them, we're in my chance. It kind of made me think of like the Betis game over to Spain. No one's gives us a hope, and we've got the result. All depends on the first goal for me. If they score first, I just think they'll, and that's contrary to what's happening recently, because we usually just go 2-0 down automatically and see where we go from there. But I think with a team like that, I think if we let them get a grip of the game, they will punish us, and it'll be a long, long night. If we can score first, it really could throw it into, you know, anybody's game, to be honest, from there. So I'd expect something quite similar. I expect us, you know, pretty defensive, try and hit them on the break, very direct when we get the ball and get forward. I'd expect that. I'd expect Barron and Raskin just to be covering a lot of ground, winning balls for us. Diomande, probably the one that's maybe getting a bit more, you know, further forward to support. I would go Egamani up front. I think he'll go with Dessers, and I can understand that. I would personally love to see Egamani play in that game. I think this could be one of the games where he comes alive, and, you know, it's like was it Olympiacos game? Nice away from home.
Yeah,
he tore them
Nice,
apart in Tottenham. It could be something similar to that. I said Dessers, I think you'll be looking at that Fenerbahce game and looking at the job Dessers done and thinking, I can go with that again. I'd go Egaman, but I can understand Dessers. But yeah, it's going to be a tough night. But I would say I've still got, you know, a decent bit of hope about that we can pull something spectacular off.
Give me that prediction then. Stick a number to it, Craig.
Yeah, I'm going to go ultra positive. I'm going to go a 2-1 win for Rangers.
Oh, right, okay. We're into it now. Right, okay. No, listen, I get where you're coming from. I think Ian's having some technical issues, so I'll wrap us up then by giving my. But I agree with a lot of what you just said there, and I would go with Egaman. To be fair, I'd go with Egaman and Dessers, and I think Barry Ferguson might actually go positive and try and get it, because this is a roll of the dice. There is nothing else to play for in the season. If you get by Bilbao, it's a huge statement. I think it'll end up 2 each on the night, and we'll end up in penalties. And at which point, Rangers will go through.
I'll take that.
We end up in the same place. Yes, and I know everybody loves penalties, so I'll take us to that point. Listen, it's just for me to wrap up. I think we've covered a hell of a lot of ground today. Thankfully, we managed to at least pick up the point after a really poor first 45 today, down to 10 men. A wonderful goal by Iain Hagi. Listen, thank you to you, Craig. Thank you to the now absent and departed. Maybe not in that way. That sounds very morbid. The jump.
I've thought of a minute before from Thursday there.
Yeah, there we go. I want everybody to shout out Ian's name. Please contact him on X. But no, listen, I think we've covered a lot. Thanks to the listeners and the watchers. And listen, we'll be along on Wednesday with Kyle and the team to do a preview of the match. For now, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for watching.